Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, and in this video I'm showing you every single F3 option in Minecraft, where this is all of them turned on at the same time. But in this video we'll be going over all of them one by one, explaining what all of the different options are that are available in the debug options. So all of these different options, we'll go over all of them, and I'll briefly explain every single one of them. So hopefully after this video you'll know at least a little bit about each F3 debug option in Minecraft Java Edition. And so if you like Minecraft videos like this one, then please make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more Minecraft tutorials like this one in the future. And now let's turn all of these off so we can go through them one by one. The first of these is biome, which is simple. It just displays the biome you are currently in, so in this case Minecraft Plains. Then we have chunk generation stats, which contains two parts, which is the noise router and the biome builder. And so the noise router contains a lot of numbers, which are used to generate terrain around you. So N is the final density value, T is temperature, V is humidity, C is continentalness, E is erosion, D is depth, W is the weirdness or ridge value, PV is the peaks or valleys value, and PS is the initial density without jaggedness value. And you can see that these change in different parts of your world. Then for the biome builder, the thing it says there is high or peak or mid or low or valley, and it depends on the PV value in the noise router. C can be mushroom fields, deep ocean, ocean coast, near inland, mid inland and far inland, depending on the continentalness noise router value. And then E can be a number between 0 and 6, and T and H a number between 0 and 4. Then we have chunk render stats. Here C is the number of chunks rendered over the total number of chunks in the loaded area. So currently we are seeing 363 out of 15,000 chunks that are loaded. And for example, if we look down, then less chunks are shown on our screen, so that first number is smaller. And if we change our render distance, then you can see that the second number gets larger. D is the effective client-side render distance, so I've just set that to 10 chunks. PC is the number of pending chunks to be batched. And AB is the number of available buffers to use in the batching process, so that's also just for chunk rendering. Then we have chunk source stats, which contains 5 numbers. That first W number is the number of cached chunks, and the second one is the number of loaded chunks. And there's also 3 E values. The first one is the number of loaded entities, the second is the number of entity sections, and the third is the number of entity ticking chunks, which in most cases is the same as W2. Then we move on to day count. This one's simple, it just shows you the current day count of the world. And if we add time with the time command, you can see that that number increases. Then we have detailed memory, which just shows you more information about memory usage and total memory you have for Minecraft, both heap and non-heap. Next is entity render stats, where the first two numbers are the number of entities in the player's FOV and the number of entities in the loaded area. So as we look around, we can see that, for example, in that direction there are 5 entities of the 160 entities that are currently loaded. And the SD is the simulation distance, which is currently set to 12 chunks. Then we have entity spawn counts, which displays the amount of entities that count towards the mob cap. So SC is the total number of loaded mob spawning chunks. MO is the total amount of monsters, so hostile mobs. C the total amount of creatures, passive mobs. AM the total amount of ambient mobs, like bats. AX the total number of axolotls. UWC the total number of underground water mobs, for example glow squids. WC the total amount of water mobs like squids, dolphins and nautiluses. WA the total number of water ambient mobs like fish. And finally MI the total number of miscellaneous entities. So all different entities categorized in all of these different letters. Then we have FPS, which shows you your current frame rate in FPS. T is the maximum frame rate, which is set here, as you can see. And the present mode is shown between brackets, which is the current presentation mode, can be immediate, mailbox, Vivo, and Vivo relaxed. Then we have game version. This shows you your current game version, along with if you're using vanilla or a modded version. And it also shows you if you're using a snapshot version as well. Then we have GPU utilization, which shows you the percentage of GPU processing power being used, which for me currently is 100%. Then height map shows quite a few different numbers again, where the top line is client side and the bottom line is server side. And here S is the world surface value, M the motion blocking value, ML the motion blocking no leaves value, and O is the ocean floor value. So for example, above the water, you can see that the O value is lower, and under a tree, the ML value is lower. Next is light levels. It shows you the current light level, and that is the maximum of the sky and block light level. And then in the brackets, it even breaks down between sky level and block level, where sky is of course sun, and block is for example a torch or glowstone or whatever. Next we have local difficulty, where the first number is local difficulty of the chunk the player is in, and the second number is the clamped local difficulty. You can see that those numbers change when I change the difficulty of the world as well. Then we have looking at block state, which if you're looking at a block, shows you the coordinates of that block, the identifier of the block, so this is a grass block, and a list of block states of the block. So for example, for grass, it shows snowy, but for leaves, it shows a bit more information as well about, for example, the distance to the log, persistence, and if it's waterlogged or not. Related to looking at block state, we also have looking at block tags, which just shows you all of the tags for the type of block you're looking at. For example, this grass has edible for sheep, replaceable by mushrooms, replaceable enchantment power transmitter, and replaceable by trees. But a full grass block has a lot more tags, and stone has also quite a few. Then looking at entity, that shows you the name of the entity you're looking at, so this is a Minecraft pig. And again, we have tags as well, you can see the tags of the different mobs you're looking at. And then we also have this for fluid, so looking at fluid state. All of this is targeted fluid empty, but if we look at water, we can see that targeted fluid with the coordinates, Minecraft water, and the block states. And once again, we have a tags version of this as well to show all the tags of water and lava and other fluids. Then we have regular memory. This just shows you percentage of memory used, amount of memory used, the rate of heap memory that the game allocates, and the final two numbers are the percentage of memory the game has allocated from the maximum it can use and the amount of allocated memory in megabytes. Then there is particle render stats. This just shows you the number of particles in the loaded area. So there are 130 particles in the loaded area, which could be water bubble columns or geysers, like this for example. Next is player position. Now this has a lot of information here. It first of all shows the player's XYZ coordinates. The second line shows the coordinates of the block at the player's feet. So we know that the block below us is at those exact block coordinates. It also shows the chunk coordinates that the player is in. And in that line between brackets, it shows you the coordinates of the chunk within the file that it's stored in. Then the fourth line contains the cardinal direction the player is facing, and if that's towards positive, negative, z, and x. And it also shows the player's yaw and pitch in between the second set of brackets. Then the fifth line shows the identifier of the dimension the player is in, so in this case the overworld. And it shows the amount of force loaded chunks, which in this case is 0. But we can add one just like that. Then we have player section position, which shows you the relative coordinates of the block the player's feet are in within the chunk. Then we have post effect, which is a bit special because we don't actually know what it does. If you do know, let me know in the comments down below. Then we have simple performance impactors, which shows you three things. So it shows you the type of clouds that are currently rendered, fancy clouds, fast clouds, or nothing. If we turn clouds off, B is the biome blend value, and on the top right there you see the filtering option, which can be none, RGSS, anisotropic 2x, 4x and 8x, which is controlled right here. Then there is sound cache, which shows you the number of buffers and the size of the sound cache in megabytes. Then there is sound mood. This shows you how many sounds are being played and the current mood value. So the first part is the number of static sounds playing over the maximum number of static sounds that can be played at the same time. So you can see that as I punch a lot of these blocks, many different sounds are playing at the same time, but we're not anywhere close to the 240 limit. And the second part after the plus is the number of streaming sounds like music, playing over the maximum number of streaming sounds that can be played at the same time, which is 8. And then there's the mood percentage as well, which shows the current mood value. Then we have system specs, which just basically shows you all the specs for the system you're playing the game on. It also shows you the Java version that's currently used, the number of threads on the player's CPU, the name of the CPU including the brand, the number of cores on the player's CPU, the base clock speed of the player's CPU in gigahertz, the resolution of the game, so in this case 4K, the display vendor, the graphics card being used, and any additional info for the graphics card, and also the OpenGL version used, or Vulkan in this case. And then the final debug screen text option is TPS, which shows you information about the server. So it shows you the server brand, which is just integrated when in single player. The next part is the time it takes for a game tick to be processed. Then the TX part is the average number of packets sent by the client during a game tick. And the RX part is the average number of packets received by the client during a game tick. Then we also have 15 different debug renderers to go through. So the first of these is the 3D crosshair, which if you're in first person is just this 3D thing you see in the middle of our screen. This is usually turned on, but can be turned off as well to show the normal crosshair, even if you have the F3 screen open. Then there's chunk borders, which just shows you the chunk borders. So we're in this chunk right over here. And if we move over to the next chunk, you can see that now we see the outline of this chunk. And in red, you can also see the outlines of the surrounding chunks as well. Then there's chunk section octree, which shows all of this information. So it shows a number for each of the chunks around you, which changes as you look around and you move around. And there's more colors to indicate all kinds of limits as well. Then there's chunk section paths, which once again shows you information about the chunks of your world, as you can see right here. And there's also chunk section visibility. And so that looks something like this, with the yellow boxes in chunks and also these red lines sticking out of them. Then we have entity hitboxes, which just enables entity hitboxes, so we can see now all the hitboxes of all the entities in your world, along with the direction they are looking at. Then there's visualize block light levels, which shows you the block light level of your surrounding chunks. And this number changes if you, for example, place down some glowstone. So then you can see all of the different light levels of the blocks around the glowstone in that diamond shape. Then there is visualize chunks on server, which looks a little crazy. It displays information about each chunk's load level and status and renders a chunk color map in the debug screen. Yeah, so you can see information in the background about client, server, entity ticking, and on the screen itself you can see this map where we are in the middle in that red outlined square. And if we move around into a different chunk, you can see that that all moves as well. And you can see chunks being loaded in if we get close to it, but it's changing from black to white. Then there is visualize collision boxes, which shows you these white outlines on blocks. And they are how the game determines whether you should collide with a block like this. And so for example, if we place down some scaffolding, you can see that there are no white lines on them because we can just walk straight through these blocks. Then we have visualize entity supporting block, and it marks the blocks that entities are considered standing on, red for the player, green for everything else, light blue for blocks under thin blocks. So you can see that under the sheep, the block turns green. Under ourselves, the block has a red outline. And if we grab some carpet and let the animal stand on it, you can see that the carpet gets a green outline and the block below the carpet gets a light blue outline. And there we go. Then there's visualize height map, and it shows the values of the height maps. And so that's the same as this height map we saw before. So we can see that in this case, the dark teal, so that one right over there, that is motion blocking. The green is the world surface. There should be blue for the ocean, but I'm not seeing that. And there's cyan for motion blocking no leaves. So if you go to the next to the tree, you can see that the cyan ones here are under the tree and they're the only ones on this level and all the others are up here. Then there is visualize skylight levels. So they are similar to the block light level indicators. Then there's visualize skylight sections, which displays information about skylight for every chunk section. So you can see brown chunks and yellow chunks here. Then there is visualize solid faces, which if you go next to blocks, it shows all the solid blocks. So in this case, only the grass and not the flowers and the grass on top of it in red. And they are all blocks that you can place buttons on. And then our final F3 option is visualize water levels, which if you place down a bucket of water here, you will see that that starts at a level of 8 and it goes down to 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All of different water levels just like that. And so there we go. That's every single F3 option you can customize using the debug option screen, which you get by holding F3 and pressing F6. And so I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, then please subscribe!